first webinar that we did was, a month ago, and we're doing them monthly. And the idea behind these webinars is one, to present and introduce to you guys the different forms of technology that we use. And we've seen that in the last couple of years, our industry has really evolved from being just mortgage to really fintech, right? To where if you don't have the right tools and the technology implemented, it's hard to really scale your business, especially as we get, to a different market with lower interest rates. We're gonna need to know how do we make the most of the time frame that we've got to make some money, and that scale is going to come with the right efficiencies with technology. Anyway, so last week we had MMI that was on our panel, or that was in our webinar, and we talked a lot about just data, just overall, how do you get access to that data? How are you able to pull leads through their I guess refi finder, and also just what they called monitor base, but just grabbing the lead is just the first piece of it, right? And actually having access to that data, but what you do with that data and how you execute, and that's really critical. And so today, we've got Joe with us with Lendware, and we started down our journey with Lendware. I'd say probably it's been about a year now, as when we first originally signed up. And we knew that if we're going to be able to grab leads for our loan officers and our branch managers, we need the right place to put those leads and really monitor those leads to make sure that that we make the most of the investment that we're making. And I did some extensive research. I talked to a bunch of different CRMs, and I realized that Lendware was the full package. Not only did they have the lead management system that we needed to truly monitor and make sure that our leads are being called upon, but and I'm sure Joe will talk about a little bit more about the Lendware Predict model, which tells us who to call. Now, most CRMs are just built off of automation, right? And that's fine. But I think we're in a world today with AI where automation isn't going to just cut it. I mean, you really have to take it to that next level, right? And really be able to do something with the AI that's in there, and let that AI help you with generating more business. So I'll turn it over to Joe a little bit so he can introduce himself and talk a little bit about his experience.
Hey, thank you so much, Alvin. Pleasure to meet everybody. My name is Joe Sclafani. I'm the VP of Sales here at Lendware. I've been in the real estate industry now for 17 years, but on the realtor side. In that 17 years, I've seen all sorts of systems, technologies, and things that do not necessarily help, lack of efficiencies, and more often than not, a recipe for disaster when you start getting all of these different tech stacks and none of them are talking to each other. And we're always trying to buy something that's going to get us ahead. And then more often than not, we are sadly disappointed when it doesn't actually follow through. So here at Lendware, we tend to actually try to under promise and over deliver compared to a lot of the things that I think a lot of companies in this industry do is over promise and under deliver. So I'm excited to speak to you all today about our newest offering called Lendware Predict and how we're capitalizing on predictive modeling to get you to the clients first. That's something that we'll talk a lot about is how do we get there before the servicer, before another lender, but more importantly, how do we just create more efficiencies that make it easier for us to transact more.
I'm going to jump in there a little bit. I think you said something that really resonates. When technology doesn't talk to each other, it's a recipe for disaster, right? And I think that that's one of the things where when you're dealing with companies, you really have to understand the integrations that they have and the partnerships that you're able to form, right? And I think that's one of the beauties of what we've done here with Lendware is that, we've got such a great relationship with you guys where, when we need an integration done or if we need something to get done, you guys work well with us to get that done. I'll talk a little bit about like how First Option really leverages Lendware and the predictive modeling for our own personal use. And then after that, Joe, we'll jump into like doing a little bit more of an actual demo with what you guys have. Anyway, so as First Option's getting bigger and bigger when it comes to like lead generation, we've put a lot of time and money into setting up lead channels. And when you set up lead channels, there's obviously going to be an investment. Now, that's great for loan officers, right? Because I mean, wouldn't it be amazing if I can give each one of my loan officers, so many leads a month, and then that either turns into refinance business when rates are low, or it turns into a pre-qual, and we're getting to that pre-qual before that consumer has a realtor. So you can now leverage your relationship with the leads that we generate to go build more realtor relationships. So you're getting it from both sides. You're getting it, leads from us, and then you're also getting, the leads from your realtor partners, but you're also being able to give your realtor partners leads. Now, to make that work, right? And that's where the Lendware relationship really comes in handy. It's because, wherever you do your lead generation, whether it's through social media or it's through Google or it's going to be, any online source, when that lead comes into the door, you've got a very small window, in terms of, like, getting to that consumer while they're still hot. But then at the end of the day, that conversion is actually not that great statistically speaking. And so having the right systems behind, the initial conversation to be top of mind and stay in front of those consumers, that's critically important. And that's where Lendware really comes in handy. Their LMS, the lead management system that they've got, is state of the art. As a lead comes into the door, that lead pops up on the top of your dashboard as a loan officer. And now, hey, I got to make this phone call and see what's going on with this consumer. Now, just a little bit of heads up, we're actually trying to make that a little bit easier with some AI technology on the voice agent side, but I'm not going to talk about that yet because it's not quite operational, at least not company wide. It's not. But anyway, so the lead management system allows us to track that lead right on day one when that lead enters our system. Make the phone call, put some notes in the system, but more importantly, right, whatever the disposition of that deal is, the automations that are built around Lendware always make sure that that consumer does not forget who you are. And even if they're not ready to do something today, you want to be top of mind with them over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. And that's done in two different ways. One, it's just going to be the automation that's built out to go out to the consumer and talk with them, whether it's through email or text messaging. But what's more exciting for me is the Lendware Predict modeling, because that tells you what's going on with that consumer, and it gives you, and I don't want to take your thunder away, but it gives you, it tells you exactly who to call. I mean, it can't get any easier than that. So I'll push it back over, Joe, and let's see what that looks like.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Alvin. Yeah, you were going towards my thunder. I was
Yeah,
getting excited.
yeah.
And if we're not currently working together, what I'm also gonna do is put in this chat bot real quick. If there is a chat bot.
Joe, I'm pretty sure that there's not like a chat box that would go to everyone. It would just go to me as the webinar host.
Okay, no problem. I'll share with you. I'll share with you all later, but can run a complimentary data analysis report for everybody to show them like what they're actually sitting on. But before we get into that, let's talk about what Lendware Predict is and really how we're helping folks get in front of the right people at the right time with the right messages. So thank you again for joining. Where people are really having a problem today, it really comes down to visibility. It's not necessarily a lack of leads. It's a lack of visibility into the opportunities already sitting inside of their own database. And across the mortgage industry, lenders are spending an enormous amount of money on lead generation, marketing campaigns, purchase leads, but very few are actually stopping to ask a more important question. How much business are we losing from borrowers who are already closed before? So I'll say that again, like how much money are we losing to another lender or a servicer or another business because we originated a loan with them and then they went to go buy a new house or new property or went to refinance and we just missed out on that second opportunity. The cost of the loan loss is much, much bigger than what people realize. So to kind of look at some of the hidden costs of loan loss, To use again, under promising, over delivering, and using lowball numbers, the average loan officer typically has around 800 to 2,000 closed loans in their database. So using just that 800 as the mark, typically on 9% of those are going to be actively in the market this year. So out of that 800, take 9%, you figure there's about 72 borrowers that need your help today. They're going to be ready to transact this year. But the average loan loss in the industry is somewhere between 60 to 70%, which is a huge number, meaning that I initially did a loan with somebody and then 18 months later they did a loan with somebody else. So out of that 72 transactions, you'll be kind of lucky to recapture 24 of those deals, but in most cases we're losing almost 48 of them. So when we think about those numbers and we think about the impact that has for not only the individual but the company, it really adds up very, very quickly. So for miss volume on 48 loans times the average loan size, we're looking at a loan loss volume of just over 19 million in funded. And for the personal loan officer, we're looking at $192,000 in missed commissions. And that all starts at the very top of the funnel within your database because these 800 past borrowers and what you have today is really just a database showing you I've done all of these different loans or these are all my previous clients, but where am I going to start? How do I know who to get in touch with? Because I don't have the capacity to get in touch with my entire database every single day. And that's why we built Lendware Predict. And with Lendware Predict, to do some reverse math engineering here, let's say that we wanted to close the gap on that 48 funded loans. Well, that means that I would need to get 69 applicants to get to that 48. But to get to that 69 applicants, I would need to have 276 borrower conversations. And out of those 276 borrower conversations, that means I need 1,380 new leads to calculate all of this to get back to the 48 funds that we lost. That is a lot of work. That's 115 new leads per month or five a day. And the worst part about all of this, it just gets us back to zero. It's not adding any incremental loans. It's just getting us back to recapturing our existing database. So when I think about Lendware Predict, I think about two things. I think about how do I recapture for refinance and how do I recapture for new purchase. In a market which is moving towards, I think, in my opinion, a refinance bubble, we really want to make sure that we're getting in front of these folks before they get to the servicers. And that's the most important part that I want to stress today. The predictive analysis that we've built here is to get you way ahead before the client even knows that they are necessarily in the market to refinance to purchase a new property. So some of those other tools that folks are relying on today, it is really reactive. Everything that we've built here at Lendware is really proactive. It's predictive. It's way early on in the funnel to make sure that not only are you getting to them first when they're ready to actually transact, but to Alvin's point earlier, we also like want to be in touch, be top of mind, communicating with our clients so that when they are ready, they're going to be able to reach out to you. So in my mind, the way that this funnel works is you have your hot contacts that are ready to transact that we need to get in touch with today. And then we have our nurture campaigns. We have the folks that aren't necessarily ready to transact today, but they will be ready to transact, and you have to start reestablishing that relationship with them. And that's how Lendware Predict is going to segment your client database to tell you exactly who you need to get in touch with today, and then let the system warm up all of those other contacts in your database so that when they are ready to pull the trigger, they're reaching out to you.
So I'm going to jump in here real quick. I know one question that I've had is, well, if I'm newer to the industry and I don't have the 800, past customers or not just customers, but prospects that are in my database, well, where do I start? Like, does that mean I'm way behind the eight ball? And that's one thing that, because we're in such a world of data, right? Having access to that data, that's the easy part. So it's not like it was 20 years ago where you had to build those connections. When you're saying I need to get 5 leads a day, that doesn't mean I need to have my realtors giving me 5 leads a day. That just means that I need to add 5 leads a day into my database, right? Consistently. And those 5 leads don't have to come from realtor relationships. That's the beauty of what we've got here from a tech standpoint, because we have access to every closed loan that's in any county, just through the systems that we've got. And we can now download that information, right? And now start monitoring those customers. So just because you're not a 20-year seasoned veteran in the industry doesn't mean that you can't get going right away just because of what's available to you today.
100% Alvin. Thank you for calling that out. It's actually a series that I'm looking to kick off next month for the new loan officer. What do we do? How do we get them off on the right foot and get them transacting as quickly as possible? So, yes, we can actually ingest any data source. It doesn't necessarily matter where the data is coming from, as long as the data is getting ran through the model and then be presented to the loan officer. Realtors for sure. I have some slick loan officers that they're reestablishing and building a stronger relationship with their referral partners by going to them and getting their databases. But yes, we all have access to so much data now, um, that we can really pull that in from any source, run it through the model, and then transact on those as well. 100%. Because like we want the refinance from our previous book of business, but like the purchase leads too are really, really effective. And if we can get in front of those folks really early in the process before they even find a realtor, that could be a really great thing as well. So great point, Alvin. Wherever you have the data living today, we can suck it into the system and we can score those right away. And that kind of goes to like what are the tools that most loan officers are kind of relying on still today, the tools of the past, right? So it's like rate alerts. The rate goes down, we get a rate alert, everybody starts spamming all the clients right away, say, "Oh, we could beat that price. We could beat that." It's so reactive because not only are you doing that, but so are 5 other loan officers. Everybody's like racing to get to that client about a commodity now. It's all about a rate. The relationship is like gone at that point, and we're late to the party. The birthday emails is a nice gesture, a nice gesture. And we want to like communicate with folks and we want to like send out strategic messaging, but to just send out generic emails out to the entire database is not going to move the needle. We want each communication to have value. And then with trigger leads and all of the recent changes, not only are they essentially banned at this point, but it was the same idea. Back in 2019, trigger leads were fantastic because credit was getting pulled really early in the process. Even if trigger leads were no longer banned today, if they were pulling that credit, they're at the closing table. So in all of these instances, what's happening is two things. One, we're always late to the party. We're the last one there. And two, they're just kind of telling you what happened, but they're not really telling you who's ready. So that's where the predictive modeling came in. And what we were able to do over the last couple of years, and kind of back to Alvin's point, there's so much data out there, so much data that there's almost too much data out there. But when we have this data, it's not about just having the data, it's about how are we utilizing, how are we unlocking the potential of that data. And that's what Lenware Predict is doing. So over time, what we've looked for is patterns and how our model is very different than anything else out there and why it's predictive is we're looking at a lot more consumer signals, really trying to understand the clients inside of our database and what's going on in their lives. So that really breaks down into 4 different categories. There's income shifts, equity growth, life events, and behavioral patterns. So when we combine these 4 different concepts and we run it through the model. We move it against 5,000 different consumer signals. So what we're looking for is things like, did Doug just get married? Did Sally just get divorced? Does Tim and Marcia have kids? Do they have twins? Are the kids going off to college in the fall? Is Billy a dark beer drinker or a light beer drinker? I like to throw that one in because all of these things actually tell us who that person is, right? I'll give you guys just a quick story. I have two children at home. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. My 3-year-old, he wears size 5 diapers. My daughter, who's 1, she wears size 2 diapers. I went to CVS. I went to buy diapers for my kids. I accidentally used my company credit card. Within 24 hours, because of that purchase, my inbox was full of advertisements for kids' clothings and other kids' activities. And my point is that there's so much information about all of us out there in the ether. What our model is doing is taking that information and making it actionable for you. And besides just making it actionable, we want to put a delivery system in place that makes it possible to really be the most efficient as possible. Because what we're all doing every single day, besides working our current book of business, is we are meeting with our referral partners. We are doing other events, social media events, webinars, things to get out in the public where working with our LOAs, we're working with our businesses, we're working in so many different capacities. We're dealing with our own kids at home. There's so many different things that we're doing every single day. But if we can prioritize just 3 to 5 of these high intent contacts per day, you will close more loans. It's not a matter of if you're going to close more loans. The only question becomes is how many more loans are you going to close? And then because we're dealing with living, breathing people, we need to make sure that we're tracking these living, breathing people with a living, breathing model. So anytime a score changes, if some sort of event happens in this person's life, where maybe the model picks up that Jane just she got a 22% increase in her salary, well, that's an important information for us to know. So we take the historical financial snapshot because, of course, that's really important. But we're also taking in all of these different consumer signals that are clear indicators on what that person is going to do. So we can know 3 months before they purchase that they're going to want to purchase, or 3 months before they refinance that they're going to want to refinance. Alvin, any thoughts there?
Yeah, so if you think about it as a loan officer or even as a senior loan officer, right? I would start thinking about how to scale this idea because if you're new, this is a no-brainer, right? You're getting leads that are in your mailbox, you're calling them. If you're seasoned and you realize that I'm just trying to capture more and have more scalability in my process, I've got an LOA or I've got, some junior loan officers that work under me, or I want to build my team, right? What better way to build your team than to be able to provide your team members with these hot leads, even if you're not able to get to those people, to those consumers, your juniors are able to get there, and that's helping you scale your business upwards.
I have I'm working with a branch manager right now, and she has a couple junior folks that just joined the team. And she asked me, can I give you my database? She's been in the industry for 20 plus years. And she said, can I give you my database and can you score it and then can you distribute it to my team? And I said, well, that's a great idea. Of course we could do that. So there's a lot of different ways that we can work with the data. The important thing is how do we score that data and then how do we use that data? So when we use the data and how we typically present this to our loan officers is they have what I like to call their morning hit list. So they log in, they have their 3 to 5 contacts that they need to prioritize that day. Um, Picking up the phone and calling 3 to 5 people will make a world of difference in your business. So when I look at this, it's all in plain English. It says, Jennifer Martinez, she's hot. She's a cash out refi candidate. The last time we connected with her was 14 months ago. And then a quick snapshot. Why is she hot? Equity plus debt. So when we click into that, what we've also created is an AI summary. So now the AI summary is telling us Sarah, she's been in her home for 7 years. She has significant equity. Her estimated income has increased 22% since origination. Her recent online behavior suggests she's actively rate shopping today. She's shown signs that she's sensitive to rate drops. She's got a great credit profile. So if you think about what we're doing here, so like we have a data source, we're scoring this data source, and then we're surfacing the folks that have high intent. And then once we know who is ready, now the system is telling us why are they ready. So now all of your outreach is informed, it's not random. We're moving away from guesswork, we're moving with precision. And not only with precision, but with strategy. Another example I'll give you is a cash out refi. So Sally is a single mother. She's got 180,000 in home equity, $47,000 in credit card debt. Sally has a kid, Billy, that's 18 years old that's going off to college. She is a perfect candidate for a cash out refi. The problem is Sally doesn't know what that is. And you, as a loan officer, whether you're brand new or seasoned, just cannot possibly be a financial advisor to everybody without knowing a little bit about what's going on in their life. So that's where Lendware Predicts surfaces these contacts, and then we can apply automation to help you either warm up or connect with these leads. So maybe using that example, Sally again, and I use a cash out refi for a couple different reasons. Like one, I do think we're moving towards this cash out refi boom. Two, I don't think a lot of normal consumers or clients necessarily know what a cash out refi is, and a lot of people can use it today. So maybe the first email that we want to send out is based on what they are a good candidate for, so a cash out refi. So the system recognizes Sally comes in as a cash out refi candidate and automatically sends her an email. And instead of just your normal emails, hey, checking in, or hey, hope all is well, we're providing value right away. What is a cash out refi? Hey, Sally, this is a cash out refi, and give her an explanation about what it is. And this works with purchase, and this works with all the other financial products that we can offer. But the first value prop is what is a cash out refi? Then the system can then automate a text message 2 days later. Hey, Sally, it's Alvin over at First Option. I sent you an email 2 days ago about a cash out refi. Just wanted to see if you got that, if you had any questions. She calls right away. Actually, Alvin, yes, I did. I had no idea what this is, and I'm interested in learning more about it. So the flow in my mind would be the system surfaces Sally. We give her a call. She doesn't answer because let's face it, the the pickup rates are not the best. We got to be really persistent in these phone calls. But the voicemail then sparks an idea in Sally's mind. Hey, Alvin just gave me a call. I'll get back to him. Then she gets the email. Then she gets the text message. Okay, like I'm interested. So the system is doing all of the legwork for you while Alvin is now just focused on the conversation. And I'll pause there, Alvin. Any insights or anything that you want to throw in there?
Yeah, I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I do want to throw some, coming soon pointers out there. What's been built out with Lendware already is a lot of the automation fires, right? Where there's just outbound reach with the consumer trying to, creating their interest. What we're working on in partnership, and I think this is where, the partnership is so important between us and Lendware. It's because we're working on some AI features where as these automations are fired out and a text message is going to come back to to the system, well, AI will jump in there and further that conversation. It's not just a one-way text that goes out and that's it. When the reply comes, a conversation with the AI starts, and the AI is essentially your assistant, right? And so what the AI will do is it'll watch the email that goes out, it'll watch the text message that's coming back, and it'll create that conversation, create a phone call or a scheduled phone call to the consumer, collect a little bit of the data from the consumer, and do a live transfer to you as a loan officer. So imagine that. Imagine how easy we've made this thing with because of this technology, where not only are we telling you who to call, but we're actually the AI is making the outbound call and doing a live transfer to you. Now, the reason I said I'm getting ahead of myself is because that tech is it's in the process of being built out right now, and so it is a coming soon piece of technology, but we're super excited about it.
Alvin, I did a post on LinkedIn the other day talking you up a little bit, like, but it's so true. Like the thought process you have in terms of like not only because this is where I see a big gap for a lot of companies and a lot of people running these companies is they know that they need all these tools, but they have no idea how to put these tools together. So it's been a pleasure working with you thus far, and just like the way that you're thinking about this so holistically is just really refreshing compared to a lot of the other companies I'm speaking with on a daily basis. So
Yeah, we're trying to draw the line between the different technologies so that it works in sync.
that's really, really important. Uh, all right, cool. So the next thing that I'd like to show everybody is we just started launching this, and we're going to be charging there's some value here. So we're going to be charging some sort of amount of money to run this report for anybody that's interested on this call. Happy to run the same analysis at no charge, which was the link that we'll get out to you all later. But I think this is really interesting. So I had a company, they everything is a theory until you start seeing it in practice, right? So the next step that I wanted to take this company through was let's understand what's going on in your existing database today. So I asked them to provide me with 36,000 contacts. I actually set up to 50,000. They provided 36,815. So we ran this through our model and we were able to identify over 6,600 high intent leads. So what was really interesting about this was the hot leads were 3,988. So what we're recommending on anything that's hot is an immediate outreach. This is the highest conversion probability. So with the highest conversion probability, these folks are 19 times more likely to transact today. If we get in touch with them, if you go back to the math that we did earlier in the call, if we have 800, let's say, leads that we're working on, and 9% of those folks are ready to transact today, that's the hot folks. So these are the people that we need to get in touch with. These hot leads are 19 times more likely to transact. So without Lendware Predict or a propensity model like ours, you would have to actually like it's like finding a needle in a haystack. You'd have to go through this entire database and let's face it, most of the folks that we get in touch with, they're not going to be able to get they're not going to be able to get there. Another quick story is a small little case study we did recently with another business. We had this loan officer make 200 phone calls out of his database, cold phone calls, no scoring, no nothing. And he was not able to book one meeting or really have like one meaningful conversation. We then provided him with the Lendware Predict leads, and we gave him 10 leads. Out of those 10 leads, he was able to book 3 meetings and he closed one additional loan. So, same loan officer, same data source, two very, very different results.
Yep.
That's the power of Lendware Predict. And by the way, what we're also doing is those 3,900, and again, this database is almost 36,000, but 3,900, these are the folks that we want to get in touch with immediately. We don't want to dismiss the other segments. We don't want to just say, hey, we're just going to forget about the all the other contacts or lead sources. So our warm, our moderate, our emerging, and our nurture, based on those different tiers, there should be strategy behind that outreach. If somebody's in the nurture state, we don't want to hit them 4 or 5 times a month with different communications. Why? Because we're going to end up on a unsubscribe list. or an opt-out list. So maybe we want to hit those folks with a little bit more gloves over time. We want to be on top of mind, but we don't want to be overpowering at that sense. The warm folks, maybe we want to hit them with an email and a text message once a month, and until they move up to that hot category, where then we're picking up the phone and we're actually trying to get in touch with them. So the model is breaking up this group into different segments so that we want to, of course, focus on the highest intent, and get in touch with them right away. These are the guys that we have to prioritize, but we want the system to work on the folks that are going to be ready over the next 12 to 18 months as well. Alvin, any thoughts there?
No, that's it. Good.
Cool. And then just giving a little bit more of the insights into how we're pulling these leads. Home ownership, tenure signals, strong equity position, home value appreciation. These are all just different signals that we're using to score these actual contacts. But then once we're able to get those contacts surfaced to the top for you, it should be pretty easy not only to distinguish who it is we're working with, but why we're trying to get in touch with them. Which leads us to the delivery system. So it's the Lendware CRM. So with the Lendware CRM, you can just see how quickly it's clean, it's easy to navigate, it's very, very user friendly. And that's something that we've been mindful of since day one. You can have the best CRM or the best tech stack in the world, but if it's not easy to use, it doesn't really matter. So the first place that I would look is at your tasks. So your task would actually have that hit list. So within that hit list, you'll have your contacts. And then in those contacts, you would click into the contact and you'd be able to see everything about that contact. So the Lendware AI summary will be right in the contact. The individual is very high likelihood of purchasing property, primarily influenced by their long residence at their current location and the amount of home equity they hold. However, they're also high on the refinance side as well, along with some other contributing factors. So the idea is, how do we get Adriel at the top of your hit list so that you can make the decision on how do you want to attack this person and get in front of them, and what sort of information you want to send them that is going to build your relationship with that contact. And that, I think, is another big industry shift that most, and I know you're doing it at first option, but there's a lot of, I think we want to get back to a point of integrity. And I know first option is doing this, and it's about building these relationships and being trusted financial advisors. I think there's a lot of noise in the industry today where it's like, it's all about how do we move people really quickly and just like get them through the funnel. And it's not always the best solution or product for the client. We want to be trusted advisors. Lendware Predict is giving you the insights to be that trusted advisor, to understand what's going on in their life. And I think this is meaningful, and I think it's kind of funny, some of these custom fields, but like, we don't want them to feel like they're just a number. We want them to feel as if we really know what's going on in their lives. So, dog people, I'm not sure how many dog people are on here, but I know that from experience, I've had a few dogs in my life. They're like my children. We can write the dog's name in there, the dog's birthday, their favorite sports team, their favorite food. You know, we bump into a previous client or a new client. Um, at the kids' baseball game. We start talking to them. We realize that they're Yankee fans, right? Document that. Now they come up as a hot lead for purchase because we met them at the ballpark. And instead of just like calling out like a generic message, it's, hey, Billy, it was so great seeing you. Let's go Yankees, April 4th. I'm not sure if that's the true date, but, April 4th, Yankees home opener, whatever it might be. Let's go Yanks, something like that. We want to get personal. And in combination with Lendware Predict and actually understanding our clients and having a place, a source of truth about them really opens up doors for them. I'll pause there, Alvin. I'd be curious to hear some of your thoughts about like building that relationship again, because I think that that is going away, and I know that you guys are doing it really well there.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because, like, there's only so many hours in a day, right? And as lenders and loan officers, we really have to establish where am I going to spend my time? Am I spending a lot of time getting my files through the system? Or am I spending a lot of time on the front end building relationships? And that's relationships with both your real estate partners, right? And as well as any of your referral sources or your consumer, because just within your consumer's network of people that they actually know, there's a lot of business. I mean, you know, a 27-year-old buying their first house knows a lot of other 27-year-olds that are getting ready to buy their first house too. It's just that we never asked the question of, hey, do you know anybody else that's ready to do this? And so I think that, as loan officers, lenders, we have to establish, okay, you know what, I'm going to intentionally spend my time on the front of the sales cycle, getting to know my people, getting to know the relationships that I've got in my database. And the offset of that is, the technology on the loan cycle, right? And that's going to be a different webinar at some point. But at some point, we're going to talk about how we're making the actual loan process much faster and quicker so that you're not stuck chasing paper. You're really focusing your time on the front and just really, really building those relationships.
And I think you just hit the nail on the head. It's just like it comes down to where focus goes, energy flows, right? I think that's a Tony Robbins line, by the way. But it's so true because there's so many different priorities. There's so many different things that we're juggling at all times. It's like what deserves our best efforts and and the most focus. And it's these high intent contacts that we need to speak with. And if we can build that personal relationship with them, that's where our other referrals come from and kind of creating that flywheel effect. When I was 18 years old, I got my real estate license and I started selling real estate. And my niche at the time was first time home buyers. I'll let you all in on a little secret. The reason I did this there was no other reason I did this besides I was inexperienced, 18 years old, and brand new to the market. It ended up being so fruitful for me though, because I was scared to work with seasoned folks or older folks because I was brand new. It was so fruitful for me though, because I got in front of first-time home buyers, and because I can guide them through that process, they gave me so many more referrals. And it's the same exact concept here. It's like, how do we provide the best customer experience and leave them feeling really, really good that they're working with you guys?
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I'll just mention here with the dashboard again is we have other lead sources coming in. When that lead source comes in, it's going to get ran through the model. Our model is doing this 24/7. And I just want to stress again that with those different tiers of hot, warm, moderate, emerging, nurture, all of these people are living, breathing people. So when something changes in their life, our system is able to identify that and then surface that change to the very top for you. So you're never late to the party anymore. You're always the first one there, and you have a competitive advantage. Um, a question that I get very often rather, is things like what's the difference between this and a lot of the other tools out there? And a lot of other tools out there are still relying on the traditional trigger alerts that comes with pulling credit and even if it's a little bit more advanced, it's sending the same exact alert out. It's when like they've entered the market. That client has entered the market. The big difference between Lendware Predict and all of those other tools is the client has yet to enter the market. We want to get to them before then. If you can do that, you'll build your relationships, and they'll be calling you when they're actually ready to transact. So
Yeah.
two different funnels First one is high intent. I want to call these 3 to 5 people every day and get in front of them right now. And then the system's working in the background for those folks to call you when you're ready. So if you do both of these things simultaneously, this is how you're going to see 2 to 3 more incremental loans per month.
And I want to kind of finish it off. I know we're running a little bit short or out of time here, but guys, we do these webinars, for you, right? And so these webinars are intended to bring value. Obviously, as a mortgage company, we're looking for growth. We're always, growing as well. And so if you want to learn more about our end-to-end tech stack and how we've got a lot of different pieces that work together, reach out to me. You've got me on social media. You're going to get probably going to get an email after the fact, which will have Joe and my contact information. So we definitely are here to help you and consult with you. If you are not part of First Option but want to talk to Joe about Lendware and Lendware Predict, you're going to have his information as well. But yeah, we're excited. We want to continue doing more of these presentations and start bringing more and more value to you guys as First Option and as a lender. And hopefully some reciprocation, and we'll get you guys to come join us at First Option. Joe, you got anything for last few words?
No, I really appreciate the time, Alvin. This was great. Thank you for everybody that attended. For sure, if you're not currently with the First Option team, please reach out. If you are with the First Option team, I'm sure Alvin can attest to this, but whatever you need, we're here for you guys. We're here to support you. And let's make 2026 the best year yet.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, everybody. All right. Later, Joe.
Bye, Alvin.